Hello everyone, my name is Cortex and I'm guest posting for Chisgule whilst he's spending some time with his family. In this video we'll talk about the future of big kingdoms and Rise of Kingdoms, because many of them are dying or shrinking, including most recently 1254 and 1307, which we'll cover in this video. Does the future of Rise of Kingdoms have any big kingdoms at all? In this video we'll be covering something that's been an ongoing issue in the game for a while now, and it's starting to take effect in big kingdoms. So to start off, you might be wondering what really is a big kingdom. At least in my opinion, a big kingdom is a kingdom with a massive amount of active players, meaning around 500 plus active players in the kingdom. So this should really only concern the big Imperium kingdoms in the game. And if you don't know what an Imperium kingdom is, Imperium kingdoms are the top 24 kingdoms by top 300 power in the game. And the reason people want to join these big kingdoms is so that they can play in the biggest and baddest KvK fights in the game against the biggest and baddest kingdoms out there. And if you have ever had a good top Imperium KvK, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and that these KvKs are insanely fun and packed with crazy fights from the start of the KvK until the end of the KvK. So if these kingdoms are so fun to play in and you get the best fights, etc., then why are these kingdoms dying? There are a few issues that we need to go over that explains why a lot of these big kingdoms in the game are either downsizing or dying. One of the issues being lack of fights, and you may wonder, why lack of fights? First of all, it's extremely hard to line up a good KvK with good opponents on both sides. It's very hard to get many of the top Imperiums on the same KvK cycle, and being willing to fight and being rested and all that sort of stuff if they've had a previous hard KvK. The other kingdom might not have had a hard KvK. All these things comes into account when you're lining up a good KvK. And it's also very hard to balance with allies, being equal on both sides and positioning, etc. It's all very complicated. And even if you manage to do all those things correctly, you can just get slapped by Lilith with a no match found. GG. Now moving on to the second big issue causing big kingdoms to suffer is the current matchmaking issue. Many big personalities in the game have expressed that they are having problems and are unhappy with the current matchmaking system, even as recently as in my interview with Foy a couple of days ago. If you haven't checked that out yet, there'll be a card in the top of this video, make sure to check that out. Now a prime example of this issue is 1254. We waited for 9 months, yes 9 whole months, to get a proper KvK fight, and by the time we got to that fight, many players had left the kingdom, become less active, stopped spending as much as they used to, stopped maintaining their accounts, or even quit altogether due to how punishing it is to starve a kingdom like 1254 of a good fight for that long. And so you may be wondering, what really is the current problem with the matchmaking system? One of the issues is the ability to dodge fights, and there are a few ways you could do this. By either skipping the hard KvK pop-ups, queuing into easier KvKs, or even forcing a no match found if you're confident that the game won't be able to make a fair match by power with the current kingdoms registered near KvK. Another issue is, like I mentioned earlier, it's very hard to get top Imperium kingdoms to align and be on the same schedule and be willing to and ready to take a hard KvK against another top Imperium. A good example of this is the last KvK against 1365 and 1846 we had in 1254. In theory, after being out of KvK for so long, 1254 should have been very stacked on resources and speedups. And the truth is, we were indeed very stacked on resources and speedups. But when you need to hold flags in Kingsland, no amount of resources and speedups can help you when you're getting outnumbered by that much. And the reason we were so outnumbered is because 1254 didn't have a KvK fight for almost 9 months, so a lot of the player base either migrated, became less active, or quit altogether. Which brings us to another problem with the matchmaking system. There simply aren't enough equally sized kingdoms to match with when it comes to top Imperium KvKs. Meaning it's near impossible to get one of these KvKs going when the pool of kingdoms that would qualify for a KvK like this is so small. You have kingdoms like 1960, 1365, 846, 1254, 1093, 2489, just to name a few that would even be able to go toe to toe with one another in a KvK like this. Now all of this brings us to the most recent addition to the list of big kingdoms that are downsizing, being Kingdom 1307. 1307 has been one of the longest running and most successful Imperium kingdoms in the game, with countless good KvK fights under their belt. The kingdom and its legacy is not a failure if it ultimately does fall apart. Almost every kingdom in the game has changed dramatically from what it used to be, and nothing lasts forever, except, well, 1093. Anyway, the Alliance SN in Kingdom 1307 have recently announced their departure from Kingdom 1307. I believe that this is currently the second biggest alliance in the kingdom, and this is going to be a huge change from what 1307 currently is today. I don't think by any means that this will be the end or the downfall of 1307, just a big change in their kingdom structure, maybe even for the better, downsizing. Now we will go over and look at the announcement posted by the leaders of the SN Alliance announcing their departure. Now, as you can see, this announcement was posted by the player Strange in SN a couple of days ago, and we'll go through it and see what they have to say. My dear SN, as some of you might have already heard, most of SN leadership is migrating or quitting. Sadly, we can't all go together due to limited spots. The structure of 1307 will be changed drastically, and we want to experience a different opportunity outside of 1307. Habibi will be moving with a group to 1846. They have a full list already. Sir Fartsalot and me are planning on migrating with the group to 1365 in the next few weeks. We're still working on the final list of the migration. I wish we could bring all of our friends into one kingdom and alliance, but not everyone can migrate or will want to. It's been an honor and a pleasure fighting alongside you. I'll miss all of you and thank you for being part of this amazing family. Strange. P.S. In the meantime, we keep fighting together as SN and 1307 until the last troop. Now, according to this post, most of the SN leadership are either migrating or quitting the game. They have a group going to 1365 and a group going to 1846. They also mentioned that this will be a huge change for the current structure of 1307. And they also mentioned that they'll keep fighting until their last troop in this KVK as SN and 1307. If you don't know, they're currently in a really hard KVK facing 1093, so it's definitely not going to be easy. So by the looks of it, this is sadly another big kingdom choosing to downsize, and I don't think they'll be the last kingdom to do so. The game seems to be going in that direction where the meta for a kingdom is 1 to 2 alliances. Lilith have mentioned it in the past alliance-based KVK and also limited players being able to enter KVK, so I think there's only a matter of time before something like this is actually introduced into the game. So then, what is the future of big kingdoms and big imperiums in general? It's a very hard question for me to answer, but I do think that a lot of the big imperiums in the game will slowly downsize or leave Imperium altogether. I do believe that a lot of them are still also really stable and have a long time left in them. A few of those kingdoms would be 1034, 2489, 1093, 1365, 1960, and 1846, just to name a few of them. Personally, though, I feel like it will become a lot harder over time to maintain and stay a huge kingdom, and I do believe that a lot of them might downsize or split off. It will get harder and harder for them to get fights due to the amount of huge kingdoms in the game decreasing. I suppose they all could agree to fight each other over and over until eternity, but I think after a few KVKs of facing the exact same kingdoms and people, it will also eventually become boring. Speaking from experience, fighting 556 for like 5 KVKs in a row or whatever it was. Anyway, that's all I had for today on the current status of big Imperium kingdoms. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any other video ideas you'd like to see me cover whilst Chisgule is spending some time with his family, make sure to drop those in the comment section down below. Also, do let me know if you'd like to see me continue guest posting every now and then in the future, even when Chiz is back. Now, if you'd like to see me review Yoda's monster account in Rise of Kingdoms, or if you'd like to see my review with Fa, make sure to click the cards at the end of this video. Anyway, that's all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.